I am gonna get so much crap for this. Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. Sorry for the delay, I was on vacation and you'll never guess where I was. Oh, and if you're new here and you like the content, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. So today I'm gonna go on a rant and address something I think we should talk about, the Floyd Rose Special unit, or as I'm calling it, the Floyd Rose Not So Special. Any of you guys that follow this channel know that I have way too many guitars with Floyd Roses. I've been playing Floyd Rose Specials specifically for over a decade, and over this period of time I've noticed some serious shifts in quality. So I thought we would just address those now, and I can kind of give you my candid opinion on the current Floyd Rose Special that you can buy as an aftermarket part and equip to your guitar, if you choose to do so. Don't do it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you why. Now, before we get into this, a lot of you guys are going to say, don't waste your money, go buy a Goto, go buy this, go buy that. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This isn't what that video is about. This is geared towards somebody looking to upgrade probably an inexpensive guitar with an aftermarket trem unit. You probably have a guitar, came with the trem on there, which is kind of crap. You want to put something on there that's budget friendly, because what's the point in investing in something like an original Floyd Rose or a Goto if the value of the trem unit is more than your guitar? That doesn't really seem like a great upgrade in that kind of equation. Now, regarding other trems out there on the market, and have I played any? Why, yes, indeed I have. As most of you know, I have way too many guitars. And in my collection, I have a Floyd Rose Original, a Floyd Rose Pro, a Floyd Rose Non-Fine Tuner, Floyd Rose 2, Schaller, Kahler Spider, Ibanez Edge. Of course, I've got a Goto 1996 T on a few guitars, and the budget-friendly Wilkinson double locking trem. That's just to name a few, guys. I've got more. You guys have seen some of my interesting single locking trems on some of the reviews I've done. I'll leave links to that kind of stuff if you're interested. But yeah, this is about the Floyd Rose Special. Now, this video is not about whether these actually stay in tune and perform. Those of you who follow my channel know, again, I got a lot of these. They're on many of my guitars. You've definitely seen videos of me abusing these things like a madman. Yes, these will stay in tune if you abuse them like an idiot. You know, the material, of course, on the base plate isn't the same as an original Floyd Rose or even something you'd find on a Goto. Odds are eventually these will start going a little bit flat or a little bit sharp, but as far as out of the box, if you get one, will it perform? Yes, it will. All right, so a little backstory on the Floyd Rose Special itself. Everyone, of course, knows about the original Floyd Rose. Of course, the patents were applied for back in the late 70s. In the 80s, that particular trem just kind of dominated with, you know, massive endorsers like Eddie Van Halen. This isn't about that whatsoever. The Floyd Rose Special is indeed a very different animal, and that's what we're going to focus on. So the Floyd Rose Special itself, these started showing up in around 2008, 2009 on kind of LTD style guitars that you'd see shipping out of Korea, places like that. The reason why I'm quite certain of that date is because of this guitar here, which is my George Lynch LTD model that I have. I just did a review on this recently if you want to check that out. But this has, of course, a Floyd Rose Special on it, which you can see right here. And the serial number on this guitar dates it to 2009. So I know that these are being made around 2009. I've heard rumor even earlier in 2008, but that's why I'm pretty sure of the date. Okay, so we know the Floyd Rose Special started in 09 and was featured on things like, you know, LTD guitars, but why? And of course the response to that is fairly obvious. Anybody that's played some budget-friendly Jacksons from the 90s or early 2000s or even Cort guitars has likely encountered a Floyd Rose licensed trem with a different brand name, usually the brand name of the manufacturer listed on it. So of course Floyd Rose saw an opportunity. Why not make a budget-friendly trem, sell it directly to manufacturers, and that way of course they can capitalize on this market segment, which makes a lot of good sense. And of course along with items like the Floyd Rose 1000 manufactured in Korea. Now, as far as the actual design of the Floyd Rose Special goes, according to Floyd Rose themselves, the design of this trem is nearly identical to the Floyd Rose Original, except for a few key differences. Number one being the sustain block will be zinc alloy, as well as the saddles. This is where they say they get their cost savings. We're led to believe that everything else is more or less the same as an original Floyd Rose. I will tell you right now, no, they're not. This is a steel base plate, but I'm going to go ahead and just tell you right now, I own original Floyd Roses, Floyd Rose 1000s. There are different degrees of steel hardness. This is definitely not at the same quality as something you would find on one of the higher end models. And I'm just saying this because I have quite a few Floyd Rose Specials. I swap them around on different guitars depending on my projects. And yeah, when you do that, you can usually see the knife edges and I can see the wear. I'll tell you right now, the wear on Floyd Rose Special knife edges compared to an original Floyd Rose are not even comparable. My old Floyd Roses from the 80s still perform like champs. You barely see any knife wear on them really. Whereas these, you are going to see quite a bit of knife wear on them after, a year of use. So just keep that in mind. All right, quality. So this is obviously where my complaints are going to start. So first things first, I'm going to just go ahead and say the Floyd Rose Special up until about 2020-ish was a pretty decent unit. I'd say the specs on it were pretty close to an original Floyd Rose, at least a little bit closer than they are currently. And I'm going to try and substantiate some of that. The reason I even noticed the difference was recently I purchased this Floyd Rose Special. It came in this box right here. And you see these start popping up around 2020-ish, when they started selling them without the lock nut. Now, of course, you guys have seen me play obviously lots of different Floyd Rose Specials. A lot of these I've purchased, aftermarket and installed on guitars. And this is the old Floyd Rose Special box. I think the last one of these I received anything and was around 2020-ish. These are the ones that came with lock nuts. And I will say there's some pretty big quality differences in stuff from around this era versus the new stuff that comes without the lock nut. So let's talk about that. All right, so the first very obvious thing I want to mention are the knife edges. I don't know if you can see the knife edges on this. This is the more recent version of the Floyd Rose Special I purchased. And this one I bought just this year, so currently it is 2023. And you can already see these edges. They are quite jagged with extremely poor machining tolerances, and they're not exactly nicely round, are they? No, they look pretty craptacular. That was the first thing that caught my eye because every other Floyd Rose Special I've purchased, these have been pretty nicely machined and semicircular. They looked pretty darn good, but not on these. Not at all. So that's problem number one with the current Floyd Rose Specials. I will tell you right now, I do have another guitar with a post-2020 Floyd Rose Special in it with the same kind of poor machining as this particular one. And it does stay in tune like a champ, and just like all my guitars, I abuse it. So I'm not going to say this affects your tuning stability at all, at least not in my case, but definitely for the amount of money you're paying for one of these, not really great machining. You have to remember, in the market where I live, a Floyd Rose Special without anything is about $125. So it's not exactly the cheapest trem on the market. But what I expect from Floyd Rose, you're going to get better machining than jagged knife edges that look like that. I mean, that's pretty unacceptable for $125, and you don't even get a lock nut. Now, the second thing I noticed about the newer model Floyd Rose Special is right here, you can see the little notch right in there, that little cut. Now, the way these are made, I'm pretty sure the base plate is manufactured, and they just bend this down for the fine tuners here. And the old ones used to have a bit of a bulge and a curl. And this one doesn't because of this really kind of nasty looking ugly cut that they did, which is not very well machined either. But the old ones didn't have this. Let me show you an old one. All right, so here's a Floyd Rose from before the change in quality, and you can see on this one, right in there, see how that kind of bulges where they bend it? Looks a little bit better to my eye. Just one of those bizarre things that I noticed. Doesn't really affect performance, but just kind of a bizarre feature on the new ones, kind of post-2020-ish. Interesting. Now, the other thing that kind of caught me as a bit strange was the logo. Now, if you look at this one, notice that F? Notice how it extends kind of below where the rest of the lettering is. Like if that was a straight line, the tail of the F actually goes below it. This wasn't the case on older Floyd Rose Specials. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Again, just something I noticed. Doesn't affect playability or anything like that, but just a bit of a weird discrepancy between these ones and the older Floyd Rose Specials. All right, now the next biggest difference I noticed right away with the Floyd Rose Special with the newer iterations that showed up is if you flip them over and look in the back, right here, this is your base plate shim, which extends over the fine tuner springs. This is really short. Now, old Floyd Rose Specials had a full-length one, just like an original Floyd Rose, which extended all the way to the back of these springs. And it should look just like this, piece just like that. Now, the reason you want something like this is if you deck your trem, and what I mean by deck is if it's a flush mount, rest it back on the body, that'll keep adjustments from your fine tuners actually adjusting and moving the Floyd around. which will keep it in tune. Without one, of course, if you try to adjust anything, these springs are going to constantly push on the body and adjust your tuning all over the place. So you have to use something like a tremolo or a more conventional style of block for the deck to get it to, you know, sit for dive only. Really annoying. And I am 100% confident this is new, because all my other Floyd Rose Specials that I have, whether they came on guitars direct from a manufacturer as a stock piece of equipment or on the aftermarket ones that I've purchased, have all had a full-size shim. Seems like a small trivial piece. These are a bit of a pain to get where I live. I live in Canada. I can't just order one of these inexpensively to put on trems. And as you guys know, most of my guitars are decked for dive only anyway and have detuners on them, so something like this is quite useful. Actually, no, just talking about that, here's a Jackson Soloist from I think around 2018. And this one, of course, is, you know, you can see it's got the curl there like the other one and a more conventional logo like we were just talking about. But if you pull up the back, you can see in there, full-size shim. Again, they all came with them until about 2020-ish, when these showed up with a much smaller shim. I'm sure that has to do with, you know, financial savings. I mean, less metal, less money, but that's less performance in my case, which is really unfortunate considering I'm paying about the same price for these and they don't even come with a lock nut now. And the machining quality on them has really gone down, so Now this guitar here, this is a 2020 Kramer Striker, which comes with a Floyd Rose Special on it. And if you pull this one back and take a look, you guys can see it. You can just see the springs. That's right. There we go. There's the springs. It's got a small shim on it because this trem would have been post 2020. It has that little guy on there. So not that it matters. This is a fully floater anyway. And I mean, it's not decked. You can go down, up, whatever. So it doesn't really make any difference for this particular application. But again, really annoying. Oh, incidentally, you can actually see it on the F on this one too. Notice the F? Same thing, it extends kind of down below where the actual line would be for the font. Now, another thing I noticed about the quality with these is the saddles themselves. Now, of course, these are zinc saddles. We're not really talking about high quality metal here. This is one of the spots where they indeed do save money, and they've been saying that since these things were first marketed. My big problem isn't necessarily the material, it's the tolerances where the pin is to connect the back block here with the actual front of the saddle. Look at this. You guys see this? Look at this movement. This is massive, massive movement. I mean, these under tension probably aren't going to move, but having tolerances like this, I'm sure that, again, this is probably to save money in manufacturing and have to reset the machinery less frequently, but this is really quite poor. And by contrast, I mean, if you take a look at the saddles on this one, you can already see they're considerably, there's less space. I mean, there's almost no space between these and the actual housings here. So these do not move. Again, under tension, this doesn't really matter, but I can see somebody's cutting corners with their machining costs. Oh, and just for a quick wild comparison, check out this. This is a Wilkinson bridge direct from AliExpress. Quite inexpensive, under $100 shipped. And yeah, if you take a look at the saddles, you're barely getting any play at all whatsoever. Again, this is a cheaper bridge, considerably cheaper. And yeah, these are just better tolerances. Oh, and while I've got this here, just take a look at the machining here on their edges. Notice anything? Look better to you? Now, another overarching complaint about the Floyd Rose Special, and this kind of goes even to the ones back in 2009 before that 2020 change in quality that seems to have happened, is the tremolo arms themselves. They do loosen, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I own a lot of these. It doesn't matter which era you've got. The arms on these all loosen. I don't know why. It probably has to do with the actual material they're using for these arm collars themselves. This isn't really a big complaint though. These can easily be retrofitted with a much higher quality original Floyd Rose arm, no problem, with the appropriate collar. And that fixes the issue. But again, an irritation if you're going to be spending, you know, $125 on a trem and you need to replace the arm. All right, guys, now it's not all terrible. Here's something that is actually kind of good about the new Floyd Rose Special trems. This block, I don't know if you can see this block. This is actually pretty okay. This feels a bit more substantial. It's actually quite nicely finished by all standards, which is kind of in a wild juxtaposition against the rest of this trem. But this block is fairly nice. You can see obviously it's got the Floyd Rose stamp on it, and of course the 37 to indicate how many millimeters in length it is. I've only seen these pop up on Floyd Rose Special trems post 2020, so this one and of course that purple striker I just showed you guys. So that's a bonus. Before this, what you used to get on the Floyd Rose Special prior to 2020 were these plain, terrible looking, very lightweight feeling trem blocks. This is some sort of, I don't know if that's metal or zinc or composite or what that is, but these are pretty low quality. They feel terrible. You can see obviously that I have a stamp there. They come in different versions too. Like I've got some that have come off Floyd Roses that do have the logo stamped on them, as well as the you know, the actual size indicated in millimeters, like right there. I mean, this one is obviously right there with the 37. Not really a massive deal. Most people that buy these anyway end up swapping these out for, you know, a big brass block anyhow, because why wouldn't you? But yeah, just one thing that indeed seems to be a bit of a mild upgrade from the previous iteration of the Floyd Rose Special. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that is the only upgrade that has been made post-2020. All right, guys, there you have it. That is my kind of rant on the Floyd Rose Special, or as I'm calling it, the Floyd Rose Not So Special. These used to be a pretty good bargain thing to put on your guitar, that were inexpensive, higher quality than all the other, you know, licensed by Floyd Rose trims you could buy at the time. But I'm just going to go ahead and say no at this point for $125 with no lock nut for this quality or lack thereof of machining and just these wild tolerances. No, these are not worth it. Don't look at them, don't buy them, don't use them. For the same kind of money, you can buy yourself a nice Goto 1996T, and they're not even that much more expensive. Those are made in Japan, and the machining quality on those is spectacular for the money. You won't spend much more, and you're going to get a really quality piece. Now, of course, if you're even considering a Floyd Rose Special in the first place, you're probably on a budget. So I'd say if you want to avoid this, which I think you should at this point, your next best option is that trusty old Wilkinson trim. Now, these are extremely inexpensive. I bought this unit, I think, off AliExpress for $75 shipped to my house. The quality, fit, and finish on this is, I'd say, better at this point than the Floyd Rose Special, and it is also cheaper. Oh, and by the way, the arm on this is actually really good. You will not need to replace it. So, cheaper, better. The only thing it doesn't have that's as nice is probably the block. See, it still has that kind of cheapish brass block, and it has a small shim. But I mean, aside from that, you're getting a much higher quality product at a much cheaper price. So yeah, Floyd Rose, Not So Special. Now, interestingly enough, I did send an email to Floyd Rose specifically addressing a bunch of these different manufacturing changes, let's call them, that have taken place, you know, post 2020-ish. And I think that was about a month and a half ago. And yeah, I haven't heard anything back from them. So, you know, maybe if they do get back to me, I'll make another video and just kind of clarify what's going on with the Floyd Rose Special. But until then, your guess is as good as mine, folks. Just a few bizarre things I've noticed that I thought I'd share. Anyway, guys, there you go. Kind of a quick chit-chat about the Floyd Rose Not So Special. And yeah, hopefully this might help inform you if you're thinking about buying one of these. I will say, if it's one before 2020, absolutely go for it. They're pretty good, solid units. Anything post 2020-ish, avoid. Anyhow, hope you guys found this somehow useful and enlightening. If you did, please make sure you hit like and subscribe and help my channel grow a little bit. And as per usual, everyone, just keep on shredding, and we will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.